Iron Supporting Food Banks collects food and cash donations for needy families in Newham Borough and beyond. Please consider making a donation via their Just Giving page, the link for which you will find in the description section of this stream. Come on, you Irons.
West Ham are massive, everywhere we go. West Ham are massive, everywhere we go. Everywhere we go. West Ham are massive, everywhere we go. West Ham are massive, everywhere we go. Everywhere we go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the West Ham Massive. Thanks for joining me. Please don't forget to like, comment on, and share this stream to your social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already, and make sure you hit the bell icon for alerts on new content. As always, ladies and gentlemen, just to remind you, these things are free for you to do. They don't cost you a copper coin. We don't get your bank details. Takes a couple of seconds and helps to grow the channel. Please consider doing this. Thank you very much indeed for your support. And we are here to discuss Premier League match day 2 of 38. Crystal Palace against our very own West Ham United at Selhurst Park. Now, as we go through things, please don't forget, if you're watching this live, get involved with the conversation pieces that we're going to sort of get out there into the big wide open. I'll get into your bits and pieces as soon as possible. There's 10 of you watching live. Thanks for joining us, guys. Get as much of your comments, your thoughts, your observations about the opposition tomorrow, or indeed about our very own West Ham United. If you're watching this after the fact, then just get it into the comment section below, and I'll respond to as many of you as I possibly can. Keep an eye on the ticker at the bottom. It will intermittently change with little pieces of information, such as the officials tomorrow, who will probably balls things up at some point or another, like they did in Crystal Palace's last game. I've got to be honest with you, I felt a little bit sorry for them. They had a free kick. I don't know if you guys have seen it. There was a free kick that Eberechi Eze took. He scored it. But as the ball was sort of mid-flight, the referee's blown his whistle, disallowed it. And because the referee's blown his whistle, the way that the rules are with VAR can't intervene. What can you do? It is what it is. But anyway, let's get stuck in, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you what I'm also going to do. I've put this little piece together, and I hope some of you that may... Hang on, press the wrong bloody button. That's the one. Right, okay. I'm hoping that if there's anybody out there that watches this, doesn't maybe know so much about the opposition and all that, I've just put this little thing together for you. Probably some of the information might not be that interesting to some, but there might be some out there that might find this information useful. I'll just leave it up on the screen. You can scrutinize it at your own leisure. Give me your thoughts on the opposition. As you can see, I'm here on my own tonight. So normally I would have someone to bounce this off of. I haven't tonight. So I'm just making it up on the fly. You guys are going to have to be my plus one. Thoughts on the opposition? Under Oliver Glasner, I think that, look, they made a fundamental change last season. And it was because they obviously had to. I mean, before Roy, bless him, had his episode, his medical emergency, whatever it was, that essentially forced him out of the door. I think that it was things were starting to become quite stale at Palace. It was a bit like us under David Moyes, if I'm being brutally honest with you. Oliver Glasner came in, and Oliver Glasner, for those of you that remember, was the manager of Eintracht Frankfurt when we obviously faced them in the semi-finals of the Europa League 3 seasons ago now. Time goes so quickly. He obviously did a number on us over the 2 legs. Slightly fortunate in some respects. I remember being there at the home leg, and we had a number of chances. Although we lost the game 2-1, we had a number of chances we could have overturned it. Fast forward to midway or so through last season, and Oliver Glasner rocks up at Selhurst Park as the replacement for Mr. Hodgson. And I think it's fair to say that stylistically, he's a very, very different manager. And, you know, Roy, in some respects, quite similar to David Moyes, quite a safety-first type of football manager. Oliver Glasner's a little bit more forward-thinking than that. He obviously come in and they did really well. They obviously managed to sort of pull away from the relegation problems that they were starting to slip into under Roy Hodgson, which again is part of the reason why he moved on. And they finished 10th, which was actually pretty impressive from where they were. One of the results they got at the latter end of the season didn't probably please most of us that are watching this. Obviously, we went to Selhurst Park. From memory, I think that was around the time that we got put out of the Europa League by Bayer Leverkusen, and someone in the chat will probably correct me and tell me it was my recollection is completely off kilter. But he came in and 5-2 defeat, if I remember correctly. I think we were 3-4-0 down at half time. We were quite poor in that game. He's got them playing a better brand of football than I think they were playing. They're going to be a tough nut to crack. Palace usually are. Palace are one of them funny teams. You're never quite sure what version of Crystal Palace are going to show up. They're a team that are quite frustrating, probably quite frustrating as well for their own supporters. Again, I'll just draw your attention to the little ticker at the bottom. It will come up with intermittent little facts. But I think that they're one of the things I think is probably going to hamstring them though this season. I've got to talk about this, and I'm guessing it's got something to do with, in part, if not in its entirety, to do with the profit and sustainability rules, used to be known as financial fair play. And they obviously they moved on Michael Elise. Look, that was a good bit of business in a lot of respects. You know, he came in from, I think it was Reading he came in from. So he wouldn't have come in. I can't remember exactly how much Palace bought him for at the time. And he's only been there like two seasons or something like that. And obviously I believe there was some clause in his contract that said that if a club came in with X amount of money, then they had to sort of let him talk. And he's only 22. Bayern Munich, one of the superpower heavyweights of European football, FC Hollywood, came in, according to what I'm looking at here, 53 million euros. God, that's just not bad, is it? And obviously he's gone on, but it looks like that they're actually, I think if they'd have stuck with that, if they'd have only had Michael Elise going out the door, I think that wouldn't have been too bad. The problem is for Palace, and actually it's for us, considering we're playing them tomorrow, this actually is probably a bit of good news for us, because it looks like Joachim Andersen, who looks like he's going to be on the way to Fulham. He's one of their centre-backs, one of their main centre-backs, and he was previously on the books at Fulham on a loan spell about 2 seasons ago. And it looks like he's now going there on a permanent deal. So it looks like, as far as tomorrow's concerned, he won't actually be involved. There is a little bit of talk as well that Mark Gahey might not be involved. At least that was the talk up until about an hour or so ago. And I'm led to believe that it's looking like not only will he start, he will still have the armband. He may not be at Palace too much longer. It may well be that by the time the transfer window closes, it's very likely he will then be a Newcastle United player. But it's quite likely, not certain, but quite likely that Joachim Andersen will not be part of the squad. But it may well be that by the time the game kicks off, he might even be a Fulham player by then. But it would appear that the captain, Mark Gahey, is going to be involved. Now, for Palace, that's great news, because obviously, as you remember at the Euros, he was one of England's top players. He was one of the few players, I think, that came out of that tournament with their reputation either intact or, in his case, I think, enhanced, which is probably, in point of fact, the reason why it looks like he's going to move on to Newcastle United, as I suspect he will after the game tomorrow. It'd be better for us, obviously, if it was before, but, you know, you can't have everything. But he's a good player. I think that if he moves on to pastures new, and let's say both their centre backs moving on, that's going to be a bit of a body blow for them. Obviously, if we have to face without Joachim Andersen, I think it's quite likely the player that replaces him is Jefferson Lerma. In terms of injury news, Palace really only have one injury concern, and that is over a gentleman. I don't know him. I've got to be honest. I'm just looking on his website. It says that the player Mateus Franca is the only injury concern for Oliver Glasner ahead of the game at Selhurst Park tomorrow. As far as we're concerned, now there's been a lot of talk about will he be involved, won't he be involved? Edson Alvarez. So Edson Alvarez, I think it's fair to say his presence was missed in the game against Aston Villa. And if he is available tomorrow, even if it's from the bench, I think that would be a very beneficial thing for West Ham United. But I'm not entirely sure if he is going to. But put it this way: if I think that he had a bad injury at the Copa America. He a lot of people said he was going to be out probably. I think I remember hearing sort of like mid-September being mentioned. So if he can come back before the month of September begins, in actual fact, that would be absolutely incredible, a recovery. I have my doubts as to whether he'll be involved tomorrow, and I think at best he may well be involved from the bench. Personally, I think if there's any possibility that he's being rushed back, I would probably say just leave him. Just leave him. Guido Rodriguez, look, let's not muck about. He had a game last week where a lot of people, the observation they made were that the pace that he needed to exhibit for a Premier League player wasn't there. But that's game one. He's obviously come in from La Liga. The pace of football in La Liga, the pace of football in international football, he plays internationally for Argentina. It's not as quick as the Premier League. The Premier League is the quickest league in world football without a shadow of a doubt. Yes, technically it might not be the best, but in terms of the pace that you have to be up to, it's on a different level to La Liga. It's on a different level to the Bundesliga, Serie A, League One, Saudi Pro League, whatever, right? And he wasn't up to the mark last week. I'm sure that someone of his capability, someone of his experience, his knowledge, his understanding of football, he will improve. Now, whether he will make as much of an improvement as he needs to make in a 7-day period, that we're going to find out tomorrow. Let's have a little look at some of your comments, because I've been rabbiting on for long enough. I'm okay, Cyber. I am fine. Tip top. Couple of little back and forth. GP says, Eze worries me. He could make a joke of our defence. Yes, we're going to talk about, obviously, one of the little topic points I want to bring up is players that I think are going to be Palace's danger player. And you probably won't be surprised that I am going to mention Eberechi Eze in those terms. We will come to that, I do promise you. E7 Hammer, hope you are well. Free at the back cover that think he might go that way. Possible. Kent Hammers, hope you're well, mate. Eze's goal was season contender. Yes, it wasn't bad. I got to tell you that, mate. I thought they were quite unlucky, though, as I say, with the goal that was disallowed. But hey ho, it is what it is. Adrian, hope you're well. Not like our defence needs any help, mate. Eze is a major concern. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I was going to cover that in a bit of time, Kent. For those of you that don't know, okay, right, I'm just going to slightly veer off from the football for a moment, just to touch on this. So, for those of you that remember a gentleman by the name of Peach, okay, he passed away just over 2 years ago, and to cut a very long story short, there was a bit of a saga that unfolded about trying to get him a stone installed at London Stadium. There is now a stone at London Stadium. It was installed just before the Villa game. I didn't find out about it until Sunday or Monday because it was in my emails, but I don't check my personal emails like I check my work emails. I'm checking them every day, but personal emails, not so much. And by the time I read the email, I was actually out of the country. I came back Wednesday night, and yeah, then there was a few little back and forth. I've managed to find out where the stone is. I've gone and seen it today with my own eyes at the London Stadium, and yeah, it's really good. Yeah, so there'll be. I'll touch on that a little bit more down the track, Kev. But yeah, I was glad it was all done. So yeah, back onto the football. Working at a different stadium, but I'll keep an eye on our game. Saying 1-1 could go anyway. Hopefully 2-1 win. Yeah, I'd take a point. I'll be perfectly honest with you, mate. I think if we didn't get anything at Selhurst, that would be quite tough to go into the City game, bottom of near the bottom of the table, if not bottom of it. And obviously, my mic was playing up. Can everybody hear me okay? I don't know. It maybe your speakers, mate. Let's see if there's anybody else. Don't forget the under-21s play tonight against Southampton live on the West Ham YouTube channel. That means you're not going to take viewers away from me, are you, Rob? Yeah, Peach, one of a kind. One of a kind, I think it's fair to say. Crystal Palace, a very dangerous side, number of true threats, and their scouting system is a plus for me. They get the same gems. Kamada is a real good player. Yeah, Daichi Kamada, obviously he's coming from Lazio, but obviously he and the coach Oliver Glasner are known to each other because, again, Kamada was in the Bayern Munich, in the Eintracht Frankfurt team that put us out of the Europa League 3 seasons ago, and obviously went on to win it. So, yeah. Their American DCDM is really good too. Who's that? That's hang on. You're thinking about. Let me just have a little look. You are thinking about American. Oh, you're on about Chris Richards. Chris Richards. Yeah, central defender. He's going to be very probably one of the 3 centre backs that will play tomorrow. Hammer Mulder, morning from LA. I think on paper we're a better team, but as you know, this means nothing on the day. Yep. It's all about what you like on grass. Gamers draw written all over it. Hope I'm wrong. I'd take a point. I'll be brutally honest. If we can at least go into that game against Man City with at least something on the board. What I don't want is to go into that game where we've got nothing on the board. Not really a position you want to be as far as that's concerned. Thought Jordan Ayew their striker was off to Leicester. I heard a rumour about that as well, Cyber. Pitts, hope you're well. My gut is going to tell me we're going to lose this game if Eze is on fire. Listen, I think we've got more firepower than them, GP. I really do. Brazilian Winker, yeah, he's the one that looks like he's going to be out tomorrow from what I've seen. Was a very anxious mood, heading by Phoenix Bulls' game. Same dreading the whole month, scary games. Listen, there's nothing to fear but fear itself, so a wise man once said. Exactly that. Let's wait and see all the fixtures are through. Good evening, Gates. He says, Colin, hope you're well, Colin. I think we'll win 3-1. And he's gone Areola, Emerson, Kilman, Todibo, or is it Todibo? I've heard, because I've been pronouncing it Todibo, and I've been reliably informed it's not Todibo, it's Todibo. You say potato, I say potato. AWB, Paqueta, Rodriguez, Somerville, left wing, Fulkrug, Kudus just off him, Bowen right wing. Hopefully AWB starts. Yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into that in due course. So what we got up here, this is the history between the 2 teams, West Ham United and Crystal Palace. As you can see there's really nothing to choose between us. We've played 26 times in the Premier League. We've both won 9 matches each, and there are 8 draws into the bargain. We have a slight edge on goals, 46-43. They've got the edge on penalties won, penalties scored, and yellow cards. As far as clean sheets and red cards are concerned, as you can see there, we are dead level. Exactly that, Hammer 84. I think it will be a full strength team. We'll get into the teams in due course. Let's talk about also opposition key players. Now, as I say, I think the fact that they're going to have, by the looks of things, Mark Gehi available tomorrow, I think is a positive for them, and obviously therefore a negative for us. It has to be said. Adam Wharton is a player that I admire, although I do say that it is still early days for him in Premier League terms. And so I think probably the main man, and we've mentioned him, will be, I'll tell you what, it's going to be this young man here. This young man here is going to be the key player for Crystal Palace, I believe, tomorrow. As you can see there, he was voted the Premier League's fan vote man of the match in the game against Brentford the other day, when he was very unlucky to have that goal chalked off for the free kick. Wrongly, in my opinion. I think that was a bit of a bad call on the referee's part, but it is what it is. But Eze, he's an exciting young player. I think that he could, if and I don't mean to do Palace down, but look, if a bigger club than Palace came in, whether that would be an Arsenal, whether that would be a Liverpool, whether that would be whatever, with an amount of money, it's all very well turning around and saying this player is not for sale, but let's be completely honest about it. Every player has their price. Every player has their price. You might turn around and say this player is not for sale. We might turn around and say Jared Bowen's not for sale. And we might mean it. We might sit, the hierarchy might sit there and go, no, we're not actively looking to sell Jared Bowen. However, if, Paris Saint-Germain came in with 150 million quid, he's gone. He's gone. Let's not kid ourselves. Jared Bowen would go. If Jared Bowen was offered 3-4 times the wages from PSG, Jared Bowen would go. Absolutely no problem about that. So Palace might not want to sell Eze. The point I'm trying to make is Eze might not be actively for sale, but if a club came in with an amount of money which meant that they couldn't turn it down because the offer's too good, he's gone. Really good player, fast, direct. He's got good close control. Can score a goal. He can, good with his output as far as goal involvement is concerned. It's very, very creditable. So he's going to be the key player as far as I'm concerned. And I'm guessing a lot of you guys are going to agree with this. In fact, some of you have already identified him. Eberechi Eze will be the player that we need to keep a very close eye on to maximise our chances at Selhurst Park tomorrow. So we then obviously have to come on to the question of who's going to be the West Ham player that is going to be key to a West Ham getting a good result. Well, there's a number of players that I think you could identify. And you probably turn around and say that you'd probably utilise, for that argument, you'd probably turn around and say an attacking player. So you'd probably point at a Kudus. You'd probably point at a Bowen. You'd probably point at a Somerville, Fulkrug, one of those. Paquetá pulling the strings behind. I'm going to be a little bit different. I'm going to say that I think that a key player tomorrow is going to be our right back. And it's going to be the guy that used to play at Selhurst Park. I think a key player tomorrow is Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Now, I know he's gone back to Palace in Man United colours. This will be his first game for West Ham, and it will be his first return to London, back in London, so to speak, for a London club. And I think he'll want to show what he's all about, not just to us, but also to the fans that used to cheer his name and say that he was the next big thing. I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka tomorrow will be absolutely critical to keeping Crystal Palace quiet. Let's be completely honest about it. When Aaron Wan-Bissaka played for Manchester United, when he played for Crystal Palace, defensively, there's not many better. Again, I've said it before. There will be many things that are said about is he going forwards? Does he have the sort of like the right minerals? Does he sort of have what it takes to be the modern fullback? Okay, maybe I might have to concede ground on that one, but I'm a little bit old school in that fundamentally I want my defender to be able to defend, and if he can attack, that's an added bonus. Fantastic, not a problem. But I think that we've got a very good right fullback there. I think that him slotting into right back, and if the manager brings in the head coach, Lopetegui brings in Todibo alongside him and he partners Max Kilman at the heart of central defence. Whether he's going to make that many changes, because obviously you're then changing two component pieces from one week to the next in defence. Is that too much? Don't know. Possibly. But at the very least, I think Wan-Bissaka needs to come in. I think he's the key player for us. Like I say, I could sit here and I could go Kudus, I could go Bowen, and it would be very, very easy for me to do. And there's probably a lot of people that are putting in the comments, and probably a lot of people that will put in the comments after this broadcast has finished, that will turn around and say Kudus, that will turn around and say Bowen, that will say Paquetá, that will say the offensive players, and they're very easy picks. I'm going to be a little bit different, and I'm going to say I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka is key to us getting a positive result, because I think if we've looked very suspect down our right hand side for quite a while. Vladimir Kufel, fantastic investment, £5 million. He's been a great servant to the club, but what he's been able to offer in a defensive sense over time has diminished, and it's now got to the point where opposition left wingers are just doing that. They're rubbing their hands when they come across him, because he's like backpedaling every time you get a quick left winger going at him. They're backpedaling, and he gets tied up in knots. Aaron Wan-Bissaka coming in there will breed a lot more confidence along the rest of that back line with the goalkeeper, the defensive midfield unit. They know that anything coming down that flank, he's there, and they're going to have a real tough time getting past. So Wan-Bissaka, for me, is the key. As you can see there, these are the recent meetings that we've had. It doesn't make for great reading. Obviously, the last 5, we've only won the one of them, and the one we won was 5 matches ago, 1st of January 2022. That was the goal, and I'm pretty sure Kemp will be in the chat, and he may have already referenced this. I haven't looked if he has. Was the goal, I'm sure, was that not when Lanzini got a goal? Is that not the one, or is my memory askew? But anyway, a few other little nuggets to get into. Again, the form guide. Now, this obviously crosses over between the first game of this season and the last 4 games of the previous season. So obviously, these squads will be vastly different. There's been a lot of ins and outs and changes around, and there will still be more before the transfer window shuts. Let's not forget. So I'm not quite sure what you can glean from this, because of they're either side of a season. If they were 5 games in the same season, I'd probably give this form guide a bit more credence than I do at this current moment in time. But as you can see there, if we do factor this into our thinking, wow, yeah, it's obviously Palace look a little bit more trouble than we do at the minute. I'd also thought I'd get this in, and this just illustrates that we're coming across a Palace team that were very, very unlucky in that game against Brentford. You can see there what the match stats say. They had the advantage in possession. They had the advantage in shots on target, shots, touches, passes, tackles, clearances, corners. All those departments, they were the better team. The one department where they didn't manage to get ahead of the curve was obviously as far as the scoreboard's concerned. Now, they're going to be quite hurt by that. I think if you manage to put out stats like that and you come off second best on the scoreboard, you're a wounded animal. Now, they're a wounded animal playing in front of their home crowd. Now, say what you want about the Palace fans, they are very vociferous in their support of the team at Selhurst Park. It's an old school ground. It's tight. It's really close knit. It's a bit of a throwback ground. It's a ground that year on year, those type of stadiums are gradually dwindling out of football. Proper old school ground. That is not going to be an easy tie tomorrow. As I say, they're a wounded animal. We need to be careful. Those stats say to me that they were very unlucky in that game. And as I say, I referenced that free kick that got chalked off wrongly, in my opinion. That could have easily gone a different way. If that goal had been allowed, as I think it should have done, that game unfolds in a completely different manner. It's not as simple to turn around and say, Well, if that goal was allowed, the game would have finished 2-2. The game would have unfolded in a completely different pattern from that point on. And none of us know whether it would have been 2-2 or whether it had been 3-0 to Palace. We just don't know. But that's going to be a real tricky thing that we're going to have to negotiate. This is obviously the table at this precise moment in time. Again, it's one game played, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to get too bent up out of shape. That game again last week with us against Villa, if Thomas Souček manages to put that chance away, you can say what you want about whether we would have deserved it or not. But the facts would have been we would have got away with a 2-2 draw. We'd have had a point on the board. Things would have looked a little bit better than they currently do. But I do think it's vital that we go to Selhurst Park and we get something. As I say, I would take a draw now. I really would. Let's have a little look. And it's also, what would be your starting 11? So again, I'm going to ask you guys the question. What would be your starting 11? Not what do you think Julien Lopetegui go with, but what would be your starting 11? Well, my starting 11 is on the screen, as you can see there. So my starting 11, now I've put it as a 4-3-3 formation, but it's one of those formations that it could switch. It could switch to a 4-2-3-1. It could even switch to a 3-5-2, for example. You know, so if you had Emerson Palmieri moving up to, say, a left wing back role, you could have either Somerville or Bowen playing as the right wing back. Personally, I would probably go Somerville, have him as the right wing back, pack the midfield three with Paquetá, Rodriguez, Kudus, and you could have Bowen and Füllkrug as two central strikers. That personnel, I think, is quite adaptable. I think if it wasn't for the fact that he's injured, I would drop out Rodriguez and I would replace him with Alvarez. I think he's more used to the pace of the Premier League. As I say, it was a bit like he had concrete boots last week. But again, like I say, he's not used to the pace of the Premier League. And the only way he's going to get used to the pace of the Premier League is to play minutes in the Premier League. So I'm not going to get too bent up out of shape. If he's still struggling with the pace of the Premier League in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games time, and he's had ample minutes in those time, then I'm probably starting to be a little bit concerned and maybe wonder if he's a little bit out of his depth. But for now, he's going to have to play because I don't think that Alvarez is going to be ready. But once Alvarez is ready, I think he then would have to drop out. But that would be my team. Areola in goal, Emerson Palmieri as the left back, Aaron Wan-Bissaka as the right back, Max Kilman and Jean-Claire Todibo as the centre backs, Guido Rodriguez as the defensive shield with Paquetá and Kudus as the two central mids just slightly ahead of him. Somerville left, Bowen right, Füllkrug through the middle. But again, if you had it as a 4-2-3-1, the goalkeeper and the back four is exactly the same. You could have Rodriguez partnered by Paquetá. You'd have Somerville left, Bowen right, Kudus central with Nicholas Füllkrug as the number 9. But again, there's so many different ways that the pieces of the jigsaw could be moved around. And don't forget, we're talking about a top-level coach that we've got in the dugout. This is a guy that's been around the block, seen it, done it. He's been in England. He's been in Spain. He's coached internationally, the Spanish national team. He's won the Europa League, so he knows what he's doing. His in-game management is on point. So if we need to change it around, then he won't have a problem doing it. Just going to have a little look at the comments and just see what else we've got. Who has got? Yeah, I've already had that. Eze. Why didn't we buy him? We got Ben Rama. You know the story, GP. We got Ben Rama instead. Opposition key player Walton, Eze, Mateta. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have gone Mateta as much as the first two. I think that, and as I say, I think Mark Gehi, if he plays tomorrow, I think that he's quite likely to be someone that we need to be wary of. He should be playing for a top 4 or us. I take it you're on about Eze. Tone, hope you're well, mate. Thanks for popping along. Gatesy, is Mateta back for them? Because he could be dangerous, but I think Todibo can handle him. As I say, the only injury concern that I'm aware of that they've got, Colin, is the young winger. That's his name, Mateus Franca. Other than that, I think if Mateta is called upon, then he will be there. Just a few little pleasantries being exchanged. Yeah, exactly that. You and me are on the same page here, mate. I think he is the key player for us. As I say, I think it is very, very easy when you select a key player to look for someone that's offensive. For me, Aaron Wan-Bissaka is the key. If we've got Vladimir Kufal there, I think we're in a world of trouble. So I think him being slotted in at right back, perfect. We need to beat Palace is ridiculous now. How you doing, Josiah? Hope you are well. Stephen says, and I hope you're well, Stephen. Evening, very confident. We will see a very different West Ham Saturday. Very confident of 3 points. I like it. Lanzini, rise to Lanzini, tap, tap, boom, finish. That was the one. Crystal Palace sounds like a place in Lord of the Rings. Gatesy, mate, we have to start from now on the back four of Emerson, Kilman, Todibo, Wan-Bissaka together for them to get an understanding and working as a defensive unit. I don't disagree, Colin. You might want to turn your caps off, though, because it looks like you're shouting at me. I'm sure you're not. Kent says, Selhurst Park, I love it. Old school shithole. Said with love, because those stadiums are atmospheric. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm on about. Again, we're on the same page here. These stadiums are gradually going out of football. There's talk now that Selhurst Park, they've got this new stand that they've got planning permission for, and it looks lovely. But again, it's just, you know, the old sort of going into the toilets and you're greeted by a brick wall and a bit of guttering at the bottom. The old sort of, you know, freezing fucking cold when you're having a piss. It's one of those. It's a bygone era, and it's gradually going out of football. 3-4-3 says GP. He goes Wan-Bissaka, Todibo, Kilman as the back three. Guido, Paqueta, JWP. Ooh, Kudus as an attacking midfield. Bowen, Fulkrug, and Antonio. Ooh. Not too sure I'd give Antonio a run out after last week. Yep. Come on, you Irons. Pitt says the under-21s have just kicked off. Well, I'll probably have to sort of get on my toes and get in with it. So, guys, what's your score predictions? Give us your score predictions. Look, it's a difficult one. Let me just switch off of that. My heart's always going to say West Ham. It just always will. And it doesn't really matter. Even when in the City game, my heart will probably always sort of say we're going to get something. Maybe not a win, but, you know, we're going to get a point or something like that. Now, I think we are capable, more than capable, of turning up at Selhurst Park tomorrow, and providing that the personnel is right and providing that the approach is correct and a bit of luck. You always need a bit of luck. Doesn't matter how good you are. You always, at certain points in a 90-minute match, just need that little slice of luck that might be the difference between the two teams on the day. My head says it's going to be a point. My head says that we're gonna slug it out, and we're actually going to see a Desmond, a 2-2 draw. That's what my head says. My heart does turn around and say that actually we're going to win 3-2. And I don't know why. I don't know why I think this is going to be one of those games where there's going to be chances at both ends. There's going to be maybe a little bit of defensive fragility in certain regards, and maybe not necessarily the defense, but just sort of like defending from the front. That might be a little bit of an issue, but I don't know. I got a funny feeling that, as I say, my heart says 3-2 West Ham, but my head says it will probably be a draw. My head says it will be a draw. I think their support is something that does spur them on a lot of the time and gets more out of their performances than they reasonably ought to expect. I think if they didn't have the support that they do, it would probably be a different outcome a lot of the time. But I'm gonna do I go heart or gut? Do you know what? Stuff it. I'm gonna go heart. I'm gonna go with my heart. I might regret it, but I'm gonna go 3-2 West Ham. I am gonna go 3-2 to the mighty Cockney boys. Let's see. So Kent has also gone for a Desmond. Steve, yep, I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. Thanks for turning up, and yeah, it's nice to see you there in the chat. Keep involved. You've gone 3-1, mate. Like it. That's what I like to see. Good news. Few little pleasantries being exchanged. What else have we got? GP, he turns around and says, my heart says Russ and Anton naked in a hot tub. My head says 3-3. Very naughty. Very, very naughty. But look, I say it depends I say we always look. We're West Ham fans. We know, and Tony's saying a Desmond as well. It's going to be one or the other, isn't it? I do think that. I think we, as I say, I don't want to comprehend. I don't want to sort of think about what it would look like going into the City game if we have 0 points. I think that's obviously not a good place to be. And look, I'm not going to turn around and say J-Lo out or anything like that. City becomes a bit of a free hit, doesn't it? We don't ever really go into City in their current. James, hope you're well, mate. Yeah, thanks for that, mate. Yeah, it's yeah. Don't know what's yeah. I'm just a bit choked up. Yeah. Draw. That would be that'd be a decent point, James. I think that would be a decent point, but I don't want to sort of go into the City game with nothing on the board. Absolutely not. So we need to get something tomorrow, by hook or by crook. Doesn't matter. We need to get something tomorrow. But anyway, I did put in for the ballot for the game tomorrow. Sadly, I wasn't fortunate, so I'm going to have to watch it from the south of France, because obviously 3:00 Premier League kickoffs are illegal in this country, and me being a law-abiding citizen, I couldn't possibly countenance watching it on some illegal stream like some people do. I'm not saying it makes people bad that do that. Absolutely not. I'm not making a judgment. I'm very much live and let live. But of course, I would have to get on the Eurostar, go through to Calais, chuck a right, go down to the south of France, my chateau in the south of France, where I can watch the Premier League absolutely legally, no problem at all. Yeah, that's fine, mate. No, listen, I understand. I seriously do, mate. Yeah. Colin, I'm going to say he's still shouting. Turn your caps lock off. 4-1 and a great show by Colin. I would take bang average. So a great show is absolutely much appreciated. I've got to tell you, mate. Thank you very much. Anyway, look, guys, I've been waffling on for long enough now. All I'm going to do is before I end the stream, currently I've got 18 of you watching. I'm looking on YouTube. If there's any of you that have not yet liked the stream yet, if you could please do that, because I don't know if you know how it all works. The algorithms kick in a certain way. It is that, Tony. It is that. Stop shouting, GP. You're as bad as Colin. They're shouting at each other. Yeah, if you can drop a like on the stream. Look, I've got a banner made just to remind me what to say. Please don't forget to like, comment on, and share the stream to your social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Hit the bell icon for lots of new content. You know the drill, guys. Look, you old stagers know this is probably more for the people that come in that are wondering who the hell I am and what the hell's going on. But as you guys will know, all these things take a couple of seconds. They're completely free. I don't get your bank details, and they help grow the channel, which the last I looked, we're doing quite well. We've moved up from where we were when I sort of came back a couple of weeks ago. Right now we are on, what's that? Hang on a minute. 1,182, I think. 1,185. That's not bad. It's not bad. I'm happy with that. Tell your friends we're here. And exactly like James says, like and subscribe. Exactly that. And James, appreciate your help in getting the channel moving up the ladder, if you will. And guys, I'm going to disappear. So, and as I say, if any of you watching it after the fact, get your comments in the section below. Thanks for your time, and we will see you again soon. And I didn't actually did any of you notice, if you sort of watched it from the beginning, did you watch the intro credits? I've made a little adjustment. Did you like it? I'm wondering whether I need to make an adjustment because somebody pointed out, in fact, it was Vic Watson who pointed it out. So if you're watching this, Vic, I'm going to give you a name check. He pointed out that I've not included the 1940 War Cup victory and the World Cup. And I said, yeah, I did debate about the World Cup, but of course, technically it wasn't West Ham, but we all know it was. Fans of other club get the ump about it. But did you like the intro? It's what I did is I've condensed down the intro and the Iron Supporting Food Banks sort of thing in the last couple of weeks. I've sort of condensed it down just so we can get the sort of, it's a bit sort of shorter, sharp, a bit more snappy sort of thing, you know. So hopefully you liked it. 1.18k. Yep, it's good news, Tone. Absolutely right. No problem, mate. You're all more than welcome. Anyway, so new intro, new outro, which is coming up. But before I get to the outro, please don't forget to support. You know the drill.
Iron Supporting Food Banks collects food and cash donations for needy families in Newham Borough and beyond. Please consider making a donation via their Just Giving page, the link for which you will find in the description section of this stream. Come on, you Irons!